All right, today we're jumping into this really incredible story from the 19th century about a guy named George Mueller. He had this wild idea to create a visible, undeniable proof of trust in a world that was just consumed by anxiety. And, his mission, it still hits home today.
I mean, have you ever worried about the future? It's such a universal feeling, right? That little knot in your stomach when you start thinking about money or your job or just what tomorrow's going to bring. It feels like such a modern problem, but get this. It's the exact same anxiety people were dealing with way back in the 1800s.
So back then, you basically had these two totally different mindsets clashing. On one side, you had the worried mindset. This was all about a fear of scarcity, this constant thought that times are bad now. But on the other side, you had the trusting mindset. This was the belief that God provides, that He's alive, and that He still helps His children. And this conflict right here is what really sets the stage for the whole story.
Okay, so let's dig into that first mindset a little more, because it had really blown up into a genuine crisis of trust.
And look, we're not talking about just a fleeting concern here. This was a widespread, all-consuming fear that just dominated people's lives. An atmosphere of anxiety was basically the norm, and it shaped everything for so many people.
So what were they worried about? Well, does this sound familiar? Running out of money, getting old, not having enough food to put on the table. It's the exact same stuff we worry about today. And that belief that times are bad, man, it was this powerful, paralyzing force in their lives.
And this crisis of trust, it wasn't just limited to one group of people. No, it affected everyone. We're even talking about people of faith, including business owners who were terrified that if they actually followed God's principles in their work, they'd go broke because of all the competition and just how hard times were.
So, right in the middle of all this widespread worry, our hero steps onto the scene. A man with a very, very specific mission.
And that man was George Mueller. It just broke his heart to see so many people, especially people of faith, living in this state of constant fear and anxiety. He felt like he absolutely had to do something about it.
So who was he? Well, George Mueller was a man of really deep faith, but he wasn't content to just keep it to himself. He wanted to prove it. In a real, tangible way that everyone could see, that God is alive, that He cares for His children, and that He is absolutely 100% trustworthy.
You see, his whole worldview was built on this one simple but really powerful idea from the Bible, that faith is more precious than gold. He truly believed that life's problems weren't there to break you, but to actually make your faith stronger. That was his guiding principle, right there.
And this belief, well, it led him to come up with a plan. A pretty radical experiment, actually, designed to confront this crisis of trust head-on.
See, his goal wasn't just to talk about trust. Anybody can do that. He wanted to create a living, breathing example. He wanted to build something so clear, so public, that nobody could deny it. A visible proof of faith in action. And his method for this was just brilliant. Okay, so first he found a clear need, taking care of the many orphans in his city. Second, and this is the craziest part, the crucial point, he made a super strict rule. He would never ask a single person for money or for help, ever. Third, his only move was to pray to God for everything they needed. And the ultimate goal? To put God's provision on full public display for everyone to see. So, the big question is, what happened? Did this totally counterintuitive experiment actually work? Well, that brings us to the proof, and the incredible lesson it teaches us.
The result was, honestly, it was just astonishing. By relying only on prayer, no fundraising campaigns, no asking for donations, nothing, the needs of the orphan homes were always met. Day after day, year after year, food, money, supplies, it all just showed up exactly when they needed it. So the lesson he was trying to teach was right there, for everyone to see. The takeaway was so simple, but so powerful. God never, ever leaves the people who trust Him.
And what about those anxious business owners he was so worried about? Well, the lesson for them was just as clear. You can trust God with your business, because God never changes. The thinking was, the same God who provided for all those orphans would provide for them too, even when the economy was a mess.
So in the end, Mueller did exactly what he set out to do. His orphanages and really his entire life became that visible proof he wanted to create for a worried world. He didn't just talk about trust, he lived it.
And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Back in the 19th century, Muller used orphan homes as his proof. So the question for us, living in our own age of anxiety, is what could a visible proof of that same kind of trust look like in our